Today, we're diving into a chapter of the Quran that millions of people recite every single week, Surah Al-Kahf, which means the cave. It's absolutely packed with stories that act like a spiritual guide for our times, and we're going to unpack exactly why it's so important.
So many of us are encouraged to read this chapter every Friday. But have you ever really stopped and wondered why? Why this specific chapter out of all 114? What is it about these stories that serves as such a critical weekly reminder? Well, the answer is both profound and incredibly relevant to our lives today.
And the answer, it turns out, is hidden inside 4 incredible stories. Each one tackles a huge, fundamental challenge or trial of life. We're talking about the tests of faith, of wealth, of knowledge, and of power. So let's jump right in.
I want you to think of Surah Al-Kahf as something like a spiritual roadmap. It's almost perfectly designed to prepare us for these major tests, or fitness, that every single one of us is going to face in some way. This isn't just about ancient history. This is a guide for navigating the pressures of the world right now.
And the surah does this through 4 powerful, distinct narratives. See, each one doesn't just present a trial, it also gives us the key to overcoming it. And our very first story tackles one of the biggest challenges of all, the trial of faith.
All right, so our first story gets right to the heart of it, the trial of faith. It introduces us to a group of young believers who found themselves totally outnumbered in a society that was hostile to what they believed. They were faced with an impossible choice: give up their faith or give up their community.
And what they do is just remarkable. Instead of caving to the pressure, they flee to an actual cave, putting all of their trust in God to protect them. And their reward? It was nothing short of a miracle. They were put into a deep sleep and preserved through time, waking up centuries later to find that the entire world around them had embraced the very truth they were once persecuted for.
So the lesson here is incredibly clear. The way to pass the test of faith is to surround yourself with good people and to place your absolute 100% trust in God's plan. It's all about patience and knowing that divine help is always, always there for those who are sincere.
Now, from the trial of faith, the surah pivots to another massive challenge, one that can often put that very faith to the test, the trial of wealth. This story introduces us to a man who had everything. We're talking lush gardens, flowing rivers, and abundance of crops. But his very success became his spiritual downfall.
You know, this story just brilliantly lays out 2 completely opposite mindsets. The man, he became so arrogant, he looked at everything he had and thought, I did this. This is all me, and it's going to last forever. He totally forgot where his blessings really came from, and in that moment of pride, poof, he lost it all. It's just such a stark contrast to the humble view that everything good comes from God, and our only job is to be grateful. And the message here? It's powerful and it's simple. The cure for the test of wealth is gratitude. It's about that deep recognition that everything we have is a gift from God. And that realization, it keeps our hearts humble and protects us from the arrogance that can so easily come with success.
You know, it's not just wealth that can lead to arrogance. Knowledge can do it too. And that brings us to our third story, the trial of knowledge. This one features the prophet Musa, or Moses, who, when somebody asked him who the most knowledgeable person on earth was, he pretty confidently replied, I am. So to teach him a lesson, God sent him on a journey to learn from this mysterious figure named Khidr, who had a kind of wisdom that went way beyond what you could see on the surface. So on their journey, Khidr does 3 things that seem totally illogical, even wrong. He damages a boat that belonged to poor people, he ends a young boy's life, and then he repairs a wall for a town that was completely ungrateful to them. From Musa's point of view, this must have looked like pure madness. But then, Khidr reveals the hidden wisdom behind it all. The damaged boat was actually saved from being stolen by a tyrant. The boy's death spared his righteous parents a future of immense pain, and that wall, it was protecting a hidden treasure for 2 orphans.
And here it is, the huge takeaway. True wisdom is knowing just how little you actually know. The shield against the test of knowledge is humility. It's that deep down understanding that no matter how much we learn, our knowledge is just a single drop in the ocean of God's infinite wisdom.
And that brings us to our final story, the one that kind of pulls all the other themes together. It explores what happens when someone has faith and wealth and knowledge. It's the ultimate trial, the trial of power. And this is the story of a great and righteous king, Dhul-Qarnayn, who was given immense authority and resources.
So what did he do with all that power? Did he build monuments to himself? Nope. He used his power to serve others. He traveled the world to establish justice and protect the vulnerable. And his most famous act was building a massive barrier to shield a community from these destructive forces known as Ya'juj and Ma'juj, or Gog and Magog, who basically represented chaos and corruption.
And the lesson is just so crucial for our world today. The shield against the corruption of power is sincerity and justice. It's about using whatever influence you have, whether you're leading a country, a company, or even just your own family, not for your own gain, but to make things better for other people.
So when we step back and look at the whole picture, we realize that Surah Al-Kahf isn't just a random collection of cool stories. No way. It's a complete spiritual toolkit. It literally hands us the shields we need to navigate the biggest challenges life can throw at us.
Think about it. From the test of faith, we learn trust. From the test of wealth, we learn gratitude. From the test of knowledge, we learn humility. And from the test of power, we learn justice. When you put them all together, they create this incredible guide for protecting our hearts in a world that is just full of trials. And that's why it's so recommended to read every Friday. It's like a weekly spiritual reset, a reminder of the core principles that keep us grounded.
And that brings us to the end. So as you go about your week, I want you to think about these 4 tests. Which one of them feels the most real to you right now in your own life? Because just reflecting on that question might be the first step to unlocking the incredible wisdom of this chapter for yourself. Thanks for joining us.